it's Julia and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've already been here. Today we are starting off a little bit differently because we are not actually doing a speed build as usually, but we are renovating or furnishing an apartment. However, it's not one of the given apartments in San Myshuno or Evergreen Harbor, but it's an apartment in a building or townhouse that I recently created. And this is what you can see on screen right now. So these are honeydew houses. They are built on honeydew fields in Britechester, hence the name. So it's in a neighborhood in the middle of the map. It's a 20 by 15 lot. And yeah, so this is a custom apartment building, so to say. And if you want to furnish this on your own, you can do this right now because the build is currently uploaded in empty version on the gallery in my catalog. I will leave all the links you need down below. And I already mentioned this in my last speed build because it is very fitting for the new expansion pack coming up. However, I did not build this with the new expansion in mind. So I started building this in, I think, September. I finished it sometime in October, and I had no idea about the new expansion pack back then. So I think we already had a roadmap, and there was some speculation going on about the location of the new world and I think the theme, but we really did not know a lot about the For Rent expansion pack, and it wasn't really predictable at this point that we would be able to create our own apartment buildings. But I always wanted to furnish these apartments on the channel because I just love furnishing apartments, but the ones in Evergreen Harbor and especially the ones in San Myshuno are just so big, and sometimes the window situation is very weird, and yeah, you're very restricted in what you can do style-wise. So I just wanted to create my own apartments that are a little bit smaller and just have a style that I personally like. And this is mostly why I built this. So I didn't record the building process for the apartment building itself because I just started this on a whim. So I just was playing around. Yeah, I just wanted to create buildings that would fit the world of Britechester, and I didn't really know if this was going to be something I would stick to. And yeah, I just ended up doing the entire building, but when I thought about recording it, I was already way too advanced in the building process. So yeah, there's no video for the apartment buildings themselves, but the apartments are going to be furnished on my channel. Now, I know that probably everybody who's doing speed builds on YouTube for The Sims 4 is doing apartment buildings right now and is furnishing apartments. So yeah, here we are doing exactly the same thing. Yeah, I just really hope that you are not completely done and completely oversaturated with this type of build and with these types of videos right now. I could understand if you were, but yeah, I still hope that you will enjoy watching this coming together and watching the apartments being furnished. And I'm also not going to share just 6 apartments in a row on this channel, but I'm trying to do some other builds in between. And yeah, I'm also probably not going to manage to finish this before the new expansion releases because it's already on 7th of December and November is coming to an end really quickly, and I have no idea what happened and why the month is already over. But yeah, I'm not going to finish this in time. So there are going to be some other builds in between, so don't you worry. But yeah, I just thought before I start to furnish the apartments, it would make kind of sense to tour this build before, so you wouldn't be completely confused about where we are actually building or furnishing right now. So I'm going to give you a quick apartment tour, and I'm starting off right now before I'm rambling even longer. So yeah, we have these 2 townhouses here. However, as you can probably already tell, the one to the left is just a shell from live world objects. I'm just calling it debug because I cannot say this word. It is just a debug house from Discover University, so it's not actually a functional build. And the reason for this is that when I started building this, as I mentioned, I did not know that we would be able to create functional apartment buildings. So I thought that you could have like a maximum of 8 Sims living on the slot, and with only 8 Sims, it wouldn't make sense to have all of these apartments because you could have at a maximum 8 apartments. It has like 6 apartments now, and coincidentally, 6 units is just also the maximum amount of units you'll be able to have in an apartment building if you get the new expansion pack, which is again really cool. So yeah, I think you still have enough apartments to make it work. And if you switch to nighttime, you even have the windows lighting up, so it really looks as if there were more people living here. And yeah, but I still think it's okay not to have so many apartments. I think you could have more than 6 apartments on one lot with the new expansion pack if you happen to use some cheats. I think this is a good solution because it's lining up with the restrictions the new packs will give you. And then also if you do not get the new expansion pack but you still want to use it with the roommate system or with just one huge household which you just add to the different apartments, you can still make this work. So yeah, I think this is the best solution. Now I decorated this shell with some stuff. I just added some plants which I thought that people might have placed on their windowsills. I just placed some planters in front of the door, a little wall light, and yeah, I also added some cracks and stains because if you watch my other builds, you know that I love doing this. And I also wanted to give these buildings a little bit of a rundown vibe. So they are not in the best condition anymore, but still very charming. And I just thought it added a lot of character to this build. I also created these basement spaces. So there are 2 basement apartments because also the other builds in the world have them. And I just wanted to recreate them for these apartment buildings. And there are just some trash cans down there. And it's a very simple space. Now to the sides, I just placed this little cake on the windowsill, which someone might have put out there to cool down after taking it out of the oven. Just thought this was a cute detail. And I also covered off the sides and the back with lots and lots of ivy because I thought that the walls would have looked very empty otherwise. And also at the back of the shell, there was like this weird door which is just leading out to nowhere, so it looked very weird since there wasn't a pathway leading up to it, so I just wanted to cover it up. And yeah, then we have the actual apartment building which is to the right side. I just try to make it look like the other townhouses we have in Britechester, and I just did what I could with mostly build by stuff from Discover University. Here in front we have like a trash can and we have this little cardboard box full of stuff, which I thought that someone living in this apartment just might have put out there for people who are passing by to take with them. At least this is something which is very common in my neighborhood, so I thought it was another nice detail. And yeah, I think this is everything I wanted to talk about regarding the exterior. I'm going to show you the apartments right now. So we have 2 basement apartments, and the one on the left side is a little bit smaller. It's all empty, so I just placed the stuff that I thought would be part of an apartment if you get it empty. So we have a built-in kitchen. Also here the appliances are just a little bit run down. We have a bathroom, a very simple bathroom, and just some naked light bulbs hanging down. So it's just how I imagined an apartment would look like if you just would move in there. And this is like a studio apartment, so we just have one living and bedroom space. The one to the right, however, is a little bit bigger and it has 2 bedrooms. Therefore, it's like one of 2 2-bedroom apartments that we have in this apartment building. And the reason why I could add additional rooms, additional bedrooms in here was that there was one additional tile to the right, which I could use to create some light shafts so that there would be light coming in. Because I think having bedrooms on the basement without any window is kind of a little bit creepy, and it's probably also really bad for the room climate. So yeah, I couldn't do this on the right side. Like if you download this yourself, you can obviously do whatever you want to, but I didn't think it was a good idea. But here we have 2 additional bedrooms. We also have a walk-in closet. We have a little bathroom. And that's about it for the basement apartments. Now going up to the ground floor, we have this very tiny apartment space, which is the one that we are going to be decorating in today's video. So I'm not going to talk about it all too much. And here we have the corridor where you walk in. We have just some bicycles standing there, which probably belong to some of the tenants here. We have this information sign from City Living, which is also changing its watch from time to time. So it really looks as if you're always having the newest information about the neighborhood up here. And we also have a fire extinguisher for the safety. Now, here we have a little laundry room, which is just a common space, so everybody can just come in here, or all the tenants can just come in here to wash their laundry, do their laundry. And yeah, it's also a little bit run down, so probably this room does need some work, so it's a little bit on the older side. But yeah, this is just the energy I wanted to give to this apartment. I didn't want it to look gross or disgusting, but just a little bit run down and not in perfect shape. Now, we also have some stuff here for ironing and for cleaning the house, so it's just also some sort of a storage space where the people living in here can put stuff which they do not really need in their apartment. So it's also like some sort of basement where you would just store stuff. It's very small, but it's still a nice thing to have. Now, moving up to the first floor, we have the second 2-bedroom apartment. One of the bedrooms is rather small, so it's probably best fit for a kid or something. And yeah, I know the floor plans are very different in every apartment, which is probably not very realistic. And also the staircase situation is a little bit weird because I think that in real life, the stairways would just be built to always be atop of each other, that they would always go in the same direction. So yeah, I didn't do this because your Sims would have to walk around all the staircase to get to the landing, and this would have taken up so much space and I wouldn't have been able to create this bedroom in this size. And yeah, I just wanted to create the staircase as space saving as possible to make the apartments a little bit bigger. And yeah, I know that's not very realistic, but on the other hand, it's an old apartment building and they sometimes have a very weird floor plan, at least from what I know from my experience and from what other people told me. So I'm not too mad about it, and I hope you are not either. Also, here the kitchen is in this weird in-between space between the bedrooms and the living area, but I still think it works out, and yeah, I hope you do not mind too much. Then going up to the second apartment, we have the probably most beautiful apartment of this building because there's a lot of space, it's very elegant. So we have this kitchen here, we have these columns of the spandrels, we have a fireplace in the living area, and it's like the only apartment to have a fireplace. We have a 9-tile bathroom, which is really cool because we have a separate shower and bathtub. And then we have this bedroom here. So yeah, very nice apartment. And then going up to the top floor, the third floor, we have this apartment here. And I don't know why, but for some reason, this apartment screams poor artist to me. It's probably because it's just like the top floor apartment. It's directly under the roof, so it has some bohemian vibes, so to say. And yeah, it has this little platform area, which is probably for the bedroom space, and I just think it's very nice. So I do not know how a poor artist would afford this place, because it also has this balcony from where you can see the entire surroundings, and it has a very nice view. And in real life, it would probably be so expensive to rent a place like this, but it's just the idea that this place is giving me, and I think I'm going to decorate it for an artist. But we are not there yet, and yeah, I think I've shown you the entire place. And before this gets even longer, we are just going to jump over to the actual speed build. So here we are furnishing the ground floor apartment of the building, which I thought would be for the caretaker of the place, so for an elderly man who's living there with his cat, and he's also taking somewhat care of the building. Now I'm going to talk about his backstory and who he actually is a little bit more in a minute, but first let's talk about this kitchen, because I ended up swapping out the fridge that I had placed when I first decorated the space, and then I noticed that the fridge was kind of sticking into the frame of the window, because these windows from Discover University have a really pronounced frame. So I at first tried to fix it by moving the window a little bit, but obviously I didn't want to move it too much because otherwise it wouldn't have lined up with the facade anymore. And in the end, I just ended up swapping out the oven and the fridge. So I just changed their position in the kitchen, which I know doesn't make a lot of sense, and you could not that easily do this in real life. But yeah, I built this apartment building so I can decide where the oven and the fridge are, and we will just pretend that they have been in this position in the first place. Now, the second thing I only noticed when I was already at the end of decorating is that now the tiles do not make sense anymore in the kitchen. So there should be tiles next to the oven, obviously, but yeah, there are not right now because I changed the position of the oven and the fridge. So yeah, now there's a bare wall next to the oven, which is probably not the very best idea, because yeah, it would obviously lead to splashes of sauce and soup at the wall. And yeah, in the end I actually placed some stains there just to make it look that this actually happened, and then the old man who's living there just didn't have the time to paint over it and to fix it. So yeah, I'm aware that this doesn't make sense, but the tile wallpaper did not really line up with the window. So because there's not really a one tile space between the window and the walls, so yeah, it looked a little bit weird, and so I decided not to place a tile wallpaper there. But yeah. Now, one thing I noticed when I was playing a little bit in this apartment was that for some reason Sims cannot take dirty dishes from the dining table to put them into the sink, and I don't really know why that is. I think I never had this problem before, but yeah, it wouldn't work, and I'm not sure if it's because something is blocked or it's because the decoration I put on the table or if there's something else that's wrong. But yeah, you can just drag the dishes to the counter and then your Sims are able to put them in the dish and just wash them regularly. So I'm very sorry for this. As I said, I don't really know why that happened and I never had this problem before, but yeah. But now let's talk a little bit more about the person I imagined to live in this apartment. So as I mentioned, I thought this apartment would be for the caretaker of the place. So an elderly man who's been living in this apartment for many, many years. And at some point he kind of took over this position of the caretaker. So he's just looking after everything in the house. He's doing small repairs. He's helping the other tenants if they are moving, for example, or if they are needing some help with anything in their apartments. And he's also looking after the laundry room. He's fixing the laundry machines. He's cleaning and just doing things that caretakers do. So yeah, I also imagine that probably he's paying a little bit less of rent because of this. And I think you can actually even play like this if you get the new expansion pack, because I think you can customize how much rent everybody is paying if you are the landlord. So this is something I think you could do. And also when I created the character, which I did, by the way, so you can also download him from the gallery. I also gave him a bonus trade, which kind of lowers his expenses. So I think he has to pay a little bit less for electricity and stuff. So even if you do not plan getting the pack, you can still pretend he's paying less rent because of his caretaker activity. Also, I'm aware that being a caretaker is definitely a real job that you would get paid for in real life. But I think in The Sims that doesn't really work even if you get the new expansion. So yeah, we will have to play pretend what this is concerned. And yeah, so one more important thing is that the caretaker has a cat, which you can probably tell from the food bowls. And you also saw me placing all of these photographs, paintings and whatsoever on the wall because I wanted to give some hints to his backstory, and I just thought that this might be relatives of him, so probably his grandparents and his dad as a young man or something, or himself as a young man. And this one photograph I just placed here, I wanted it to have a little bit more of pronounced position, and I just replaced it with this photo of a soldier and a dog. But I wanted this one photograph, which is from the Basement Treasures kit, to stand out a little bit more because it shows a woman and a boy. But the caretaker is not actually married and he doesn't have any children as far as the other tenants know. So yeah, this is a bit of a mystery. So who is this woman? Now, I know that some of the other swatches of this photograph from this kit show some actual townies from the game. Like I think one swatch shows like Bob and Eliza pancakes and another one shows the roomies from Oasis Springs. So I'm not entirely sure if these two are supposed to be like persons, like Sims from the game that we should know. But yeah, I just pretended they were not because I needed them for the lore of this. Because yeah, I just thought that probably the other tenants all kind of think that they know this man. So he's been living there for years and everybody knows him. Everybody kind of likes him because he's always friendly, he's very helpful, he always is up for a little chat if someone wants to talk, and he always likes hearing about the other tenants' days and is always up to listen to stories from their life. However, he never really talks about himself, so the others think of him as a person that they know, but on a second thought, they actually do not really know anything about his life and his past. And I just wanted to place some hints to who he is in this apartment. So this photo maybe might be an important hint to his backstory. And I imagined that at some point, one of the tenants kind of ends up in his apartment, maybe because they were looking for him and the door was open and they just walked in. And I don't really know, because usually they are obviously not going into his apartment. If they need anything from him, they will probably just ring at the door and he will come out, help them, or he's out in the hallway anyway to do some repairs or whatever. But at some point, one of the other tenants just walks into his apartment and they're kind of looking around because they're looking for him, and they are noticing this photograph on the wall of this woman and the boy. And they start wondering, who are these persons and what connection do they have to this old caretaker? Maybe his past is a little bit more interesting than what it seems at first sight. And I noticed that, as said, he's the caretaker of the place. However, there are very few hints in the entire apartment to this activity. So if you're looking through this apartment, it's a little bit hard to tell that he's the caretaker, obviously. But I still wanted to place this toolbox from Get Famous to just hint at the fact that he's the man who repairs stuff in his house. And yeah, it's standing there very randomly next to the TV stand, and I did not really know where to place it, and I also kind of do not like that it's placed upwards. So why would you place it like this? I don't know, but I thought that maybe he was just about to repair something and just put it there, or maybe he needed it to repair the TV because the TV is rather very old, as you can see. So yeah, this is probably pretty much or almost the only hint to the fact that he's the caretaker, but I thought it made sense. And here we are in the bathroom, and there's not a lot to say about this room because it's pretty boring. And I thought the fact that I decorated the bathrooms of the apartment in this kind of outdated style and a little bit in an old-fashioned way, I thought this fit very well for this particular apartment, because I imagine that the caretaker has been living here for quite a long time. And for the other apartments, I might change the tiles and just make everything look a little bit more modern because they have maybe been restored or renovated at some point. But he's been living there for so many years that he still has like the original tiles, and I just thought it fit very well to his style. I also placed like a blue bathrobe, which is pretty cool because he's also like the character I made, the sim I made, also has this blue robe, so that's pretty cool. And I also placed like a plunger next to the toilet, and this thing from Get Famous, which I imagined would be something to clean the toilet or clean the bathroom, which you could take as another hint to his caretaker activities. So yeah, probably the stuff he needs for cleaning the rest of the apartment is stored elsewhere in the laundry room probably, but you could take it as another hint. Yeah, now the bedroom space, also very simple. I just pushed this bed up to the wall because I imagined he was living there alone, so it's not a problem that you cannot really get to the other side of the bed. If you want to use this when the apartment building is ready to be downloaded, you can of course also move two Sims in here. You can do whatever you want to, but yeah, your Sims should be able to scoot over, so that shouldn't be a problem. And I also hung these photos of just some Britechester monuments up there because I imagined that he would feel very connected to the town of Britechester. And at first I also wanted to place a cat tree in the bedroom, but it was just way too big. I don't know if the size is realistic because I never had cats. My family always had dogs, so I don't know how big cat trees usually are. But yeah, it just looked a little bit awkward in this small space. So in the end I just placed this pet bed there, and I'm also going to place a scratch tree next to the door. The litter box, I didn't really know where to place it in this apartment because there's really not that much space. So some minutes before, or you might have seen me placing the litter box in the corridor outside, which I know is very much not ideal because it's basically one of the first things you see when you walk into the apartment building, or the first thing you see when you come down the stairs. But yeah, I did really not know where else to place it, and I thought that the other tenants are probably okay with this because they all really like the caretaker and they really like the cat. And I also imagined that the cat was kind of like feeling at home in the whole apartment building and was always strolling around in the whole building and visiting the other apartments, and that the other tenants very much like to have the cat in their place. And I also placed this painting, which is just one of the paintings your Sims can paint in-game. I think it's one of the surrealistic paintings, and it just happens to have a cat on it. And as I mentioned in the apartment tour at the beginning, I thought that in the apartment on the top floor there was an artist living. And maybe at some point the cat was just strolling around the apartment and ended up in the top floor apartment, and the artist just made a portrait of her and then gifted it to the caretaker. Yeah, maybe it was just meant as a thank you because the caretaker was always so helpful. And yeah, I thought that it was a cute idea that the caretaker just hung it over the cat bed. And when I then went into CAS to create the caretaker and the cat, I actually modeled the cat after this painting. So it's a white cat with yellow eyes, and yeah, I thought that was really cute. And I love how the Sims I created in the apartment just tie so well together. Also about this wardrobe from Cottage Living that has the mirror attached to it. I really liked how it looked in this place, but when I playtested it, it turned out that my Sim could not really interact with the mirror, because apparently the standing mirrors in the game need more routing space than the wall mounted mirrors, which does not make a lot of sense, but yeah, that's how the game works. So what I did in the end, because I really did not want to replace this wardrobe, was that atop of the mirror on the wardrobe, I added a wall-mounted mirror from base game, which almost had the same wood tone. And yeah, it is not perfect. It looks a little bit weird, but it worked. My Sim was then able to kind of use the mirror and interact normally with the mirror, so it was a solution, not the best solution. It doesn't look perfect, but yeah, I was happy that I could make it work. And then I just added various decorations to the space, like I already mentioned the scratch tree, and I also placed some random cardboard box, which I don't know if the caretaker uses it to store something in it or if it was just meant for the cat to play with it, but yeah. One of the last things I'm doing is adding this small radio that kind of looks like a gramophone on the wardrobe. And what I really hate about radios in The Sims 4 is that they do not work if they do not snap to a surface. So if you're placing them with move objects on or with the red shelves, they won't work. So you can still turn on the music, but if you click on the listening interaction, your Sims cannot do it. And that's kind of annoying, because if they can't listen to the music won't have any effect on them. So it kind of takes the purpose away from the whole thing. And I hate that this is how the game works, because it's also not like this for TVs. You can put TVs wherever and your Sims can still watch the TV, but yeah, it does not work for radios, and it sucks because also the slots where you can place the radios are in really random positions and it doesn't always look that great. Apart from this, I'm just adding some last touches, some stuff that I forgot to add before, and with this we're already almost at the end of the video, so thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. It would be so much appreciated. And I hope to be back very soon with a new video. So have a great week and bye!